Welcome to the March episode of the Library Show. Well, spring is a time when flowers are coming up, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's going to be happening. And just recently, I received an email with what I now know is called an inspiration an inspiration image of a new project at the Penn Wynne Library. We have with us today Stephanie Tomei, who is your co-chair of the committee for this. Is that your title, Steph?
Yeah, okay. I'm on the Penn Wynne Library board and co-chairing this committee.
So this inspiration image really showed a garden where people could sit out, chat with each other over a cup of coffee, have the pleasure of being surrounded by flowers, but it was just the beginning of a long path. Stephanie, maybe you could tell us about how this came to be even at these early stages.
So the idea of a community reading garden at the Penn Wynne Library is something that's been kind of in our minds for a number of years. We initially thought maybe something as simple as some picnic tables and flowers. But I think the pandemic really shined a light on the fact that outdoor spaces are so vital for our community, especially in Penn Wynne, where the footprint of people's properties is a little bit smaller. And so I would say between the pandemic time and the need for that sort of outdoor safe public meeting spaces, and also the fact that we got Danielle Gowan, who's our children's librarian, who not only has library expertise, but a background in environmental science, and actually in education at one of the local arboretums. It was like all the stars were aligning, and we thought, this is really a project that we need to take forward and bring to the community.
How fortunate that Danielle has all that experience.
I know, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Okay, so let's talk for a moment about your timeline. Where are you in this process now? I understand you're doing some interviewing.
Yeah, so we are getting close to making a selection on a landscape architect to work with. We kicked off our fundraising for that first initial phase to be able to fund the planning portion of the project and put together the site map and all of the things that we would need to know what exactly this community reading garden would look like. And so while I don't anticipate within the year we'll be sitting, relaxing, and reading within the garden, we're very much getting closer and closer to having it come to fruition. So we're excited.
Okay, so assume that I'm somebody out there who has not seen the inspiration image, has heard you talk about it. They might be interested in knowing where this is going to be.
Yeah, so our vision at this point is there's sort of some open space that wraps around the library where we foresee a potential gathering space somewhere that you could study, relax, meditate, read a book, socialize. And some of that will come out through the process with the landscape architect of identifying the best locations for everything. We'd love for it to encompass the entire library such that even smaller portions can have, beautiful native plantings and things like that. Ultimately, for us, it's kind of a project for the community and by the community. That's why we're calling it a community reading garden. So over the course of the coming months, we're looking forward to doing community engagement sessions with our neighbors, whether it's Penn Wynne Presbyterian, the elementary school, the synagogue, the neighbors and patrons, to find out their ideas of what they'd like to see there and how they would end up using it.
That's marvelous. So in the original drawing, it was between the library and the church, but what you're saying now is it may encompass an entire curve around the library building. You don't know. I know it's not definite.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's kind of what the landscape architect will be guiding us on, is where best to locate different aspects of it. But yeah, we would like it to be sort of an educational space as well, where we could do a story time or have a session to learn about composting. And they'll be able to let us know what space best lends itself to the different uses.
I don't want to sound paranoid, but do you envision taking away any of the parking spots in the lot just behind the library?
I mean, we don't have any plans in place. That's certainly not part of what we had initially envisioned. The project is being completely funded and overseen by the Penn Wynne Library Association board. But of course, because it's township property, we're already in close collaboration with Public Works, Parks and Rec, facilities, and we'll be making sure that we're, following through on all the things, the commissioner, to make sure that, that it fits within what the permittable use is, I guess, for the space.
I was just thinking ahead because sometimes there's a community concern about changes that affect their use of the library, use of a parking lot, use of spaces. I mean, when I go to Penn Wynne, I always park right in front, right on over Parkway. And generally there are spots there. And if I have to, I park across the street. So it would not impinge on the lot. I don't take up a spot in the lot because the store.
Yeah, no, our vision right now is really just for the green space surrounding the property, but we'll see again what the experts kind of bring to us and what the community has to say in those engagement sessions.
Do you have a rough idea of how much money you're going to need to raise to do this?
So at this point, like I said, the fundraising has been toward bringing on the landscape architect to put together those plans. We don't have a fundraising target yet. Once this initial planning phase is complete, we should have a better sense of how much money we'll need to make the garden a reality. We do intend to apply for some grants, and we'll be hopeful that that will help to fund some of it. And then, of course, we'll be looking to the community for individual donations, employee match, things like that. We're hoping to have some nice naming opportunities where people could recognize a loved one, whether it be a bench or a tree. Again, that'll come out through the planning and site map process, but it'll be a nice way for people to feel like they made their mark and they put their stamp on this space. So the thought is that the new garden space can actually bring some programming out. Ideas that we've heard the community share, things like a pollinator pathway, a monarch way station, native plantings. And so those are things where library programming could come outside and help to teach people about these different types of aspects that are really vital to the environment. So I think it gives us an indoor-outdoor opportunity to learn and educate together.
Oh, that sounds terrific. Are there any other programs coming up at Penn Wynne that people might like to know about? If not this month, maybe things that are happening next month or later on in the spring? I know that you're a very active library with a terrific.
It really is. Yeah, I would say the best way is for people to sign up to receive the newsletter on lmls.org. We put out a monthly newsletter called Pen Pals, and it overviews all of the programming and happenings at the Penn Wynne Library. And it's a great place to stay connected and to get involved.
I'd like to put in a little plug for Appetite for Books. My husband and I went to that last year, and it was marvelous. Great assortment of food, all kinds of things. There was wine, and it was a great opportunity to see the people for whom the library really matters. And that was terrific. It was board members, it was community members, and although we tend to use Ardmore Library, but I've also used Penn Wynne, of course. But it was a terrific evening, and I gather that that's going to go on again this year.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's our flagship fundraiser. It's one of our favorite events of the year. So we hope to see a whole lot of the community coming out and enjoying it and honoring the library with us.
That is just super. Okay, so two things. I don't want to end without mentioning these things. First of all, does Penn Wynne Library have any open spots for board members, pages, anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are open positions if people want to check out the township website and become a part of the Penn Wynne Library staff family. Obviously, they'll get to enjoy this space. What a great place to have your lunch each day, right? And we're always accepting applications for board members. It's a really fun group, so we would welcome submissions.
Okay, and second of all, since we're talking about donations, how can people donate? Is there an easy way to do this? And should they earmark? Should they use the bottom left corner of their checks to mention this particular project?
That's very important. Of course, we're accepting donations for the library. We always need the support of the community for our programming and our materials. But additionally, if people want to contribute specific to the community reading garden, we'll take checks to the Penn Wynne Library, noting in the memo specifically that it's for the community reading garden project. We have a QR code that can be scanned and will take you directly to the donation page. Or if you're already online and you want to go to the Penn Wynne Library website via lmls.org, there is a button on there to specifically donate to the community reading garden, in addition to donating to the library, two separate buttons.
Okay, so you can donate to general purposes of the library, which often goes for the purchase of books, which is a very popular reason. And the other thing is for this wonderful garden program. Stephanie, I thank you very much. I didn't ask at the beginning, are you on the board or you're simply a committee?
I am. Yep,
Ah,
I'm on the board. And so, yeah, if people are interested in getting involved with the garden and the committee, or if they're interested in specific opportunities for fundraising, like we mentioned, these naming opportunities and things like that, they're welcome to touch base with us via email. It's penwynboard@lmls.org, and we can answer any questions or would love to hear ideas and yeah, to welcome more people into our fold. So.
that's terrific. I have to tell you all that I have a little extra point to make, and that is that when the libraries were all renovated several years ago, I think that a particularly excellent job was done at Penn Wynne because the architects brought in a tremendous amount of light with the glass wall in
Those
front.
windows are
The
beautiful.
windows are great, and they managed to keep the charm of the library. So go, participate, and I hope you'll enjoy this project. Welcome back. To the second half of our show, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to have, or you will see we are having, an all Penn Wynne Library show. This half of the show, we're going to talk about Appetite for Books, which is the major fundraiser for Penn Wynne Library. And I had the great pleasure of going to this event last spring, as a matter of fact. It was terrific. First of all, the spirit, the work of the volunteers, the work of the staff, and putting it all together was incredible. There was a lot of good food. I was sorry I ate dinner beforehand because there really was a terrific spread, and it was a wonderful event to raise money for a terrific library. We have 6 libraries in our system, as you all know, and this one is truly a star, as they all are. I don't want to be prejudiced. Today we have with us Ray Solis. Ray, welcome.
Thanks, Lenore.
Ray is the chair of Appetite for Books. So for those people who don't know what this is, Ray, tell us a little bit about this event. What is it? What does it try to do? And the question I'm going to ask in a moment is, where does the money go to?
Yes, so the Appetite for Books fundraiser is purely just a way to raise funds for things at the library, such as programming, and most importantly, for the purchase of books. New books at the library are expensive, and the fundraising that we do helps support this process of purchasing new books that are popular, that are harder to get. And the best way to get our hands on these as quickly as possible is to purchase them straight from the funds that we raise for the Penn Wynne Library's budget. There are some other things as well, but primarily the programming and the books are the two bigger expenses that we fundraise for.
Okay, so what's paid for by government, I just want to say for those who may not be aware, are salaries of library employees, are building upkeep, which is really hugely important, and for other expenses that come along in terms of what the library has to do for upkeep and so on. The books, getting books, do we still use McNaughton? Or do you know McNaughton?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so when a book, what you just said, which is very important, when a book is very popular, like let's say there's a new John Grisham book that comes out and everybody wants to read it at the same time, the funding that is raised for this goes to purchase these books so that people don't say, oh my gosh, I had to wait 8 months for that new book. The library can get a sufficient number of copies. Each of the 6 libraries, mind you, can get a sufficient number of copies so that people are feeling, yes, I read it when everybody else is talking about it. Sorry, to me, that's really important. No, because I like to read the books that are hot. I'm like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I signed on, I just have to tell you, I was in another library system and I signed on to reserve a copy of the new book by Prince Harry. There are 849 people ahead of me.
Yep.
That's not Lower Merion. Lower Merion, I think, keeps that kind of thing more in check. So kudos to Lower Merion, and I'm glad that we're doing fundraising. Anyway, yeah, so this event is, tell people what the event is, because I just talked about the food, but there's a lot more than that involved.
So yes, as well as the food, we have a few beverage sponsors. We actually have the 3 for this year secured already, and it's Conshohocken Brewing, Chad's Ford Winery, and Boardroom Spirits. They were, I believe, all the sponsors that we had last year. They were very popular. Everybody loved the drinks that they provided for the event, so they will be back. More to come on the food vendors. We just started the process of identifying the food vendors. So we'll let you know when we have more information on that.
I'm going to ask a question. I don't know the answer to this one. Was it possible to buy wine from Chad's Ford Winery? I remember they were pouring, but I don't remember if you could actually buy some bottles. No, not at that event.
There
We're
are
in
rules
Pennsylvania.
around that where
Okay,
we can't sell it because we aren't
not a vendor.
we're not a vendor there at the library. We will have pourers there to serve, but we will not, unfortunately, be able to sell wine there per Pennsylvania laws.
Okay, so people can come, can enjoy,
Sure.
and then go to the Pennsylvania State Store and buy those wines if they choose to do so.
Or in some cases, you could probably go on their website and have it shipped.
Ah, okay. Just sort of a side thing. It's all about books. Is there a book component to this event as well?
There's not necessarily a book component to this event, but obviously we are surrounded by books and emphasize the importance of reading and literature in today's technology age. The focus is generally just on some good spirits and connecting with the neighborhood, and getting to know everybody in the neighborhood to support the library and just get the word out that libraries are still important, and that's what this event is all about.
I loved coming to the event last year and seeing so many people walking to the library, because that's what it is. It's a neighborhood library. People actually walk to it. Doesn't mean other people in the township can't drive and come to this event. They absolutely can.
Yeah, a lot of walkers.
A lot of walkers. It's a very wonderful thing. It's not the case in every library all over the country, but here it is. The other question is, do people have to get tickets to get to this event, to come in?
Yes, you do have to get a ticket. We will sell tickets at the door. You can use cash, credit card, check at the door. We will have a link provided on our website. That will be live any day now. And you'll be able to purchase the tickets before you arrive, and then we'll just check you in when you get there.
Is there a discounted price in getting them in advance, or is it the same price?
There should be a small discount. I don't think we have that finalized yet, but there should be a small discount if you purchase in advance. Okay,
that sounds good. Is there going to be a raffle?
Absolutely. Raffles are one of the most exciting parts of the events. We'll hopefully have 25 to 30 vendors like we did last year, providing raffle items, and as well as a silent auction. The silent auction is usually a little bit different in terms of the raffle. The silent auction, you can see what the bids are, and you can take your best shot right there to win the event, to win the silent auction item, whereas the raffle is a hand in a bag, and
well,
gets lucky.
I like the silent auction because you look and you see all the people whose bids you've exceeded, so that's a nice thing. Exactly. Is there going to be any, let's see, how can I put this nicely, is there going to be any one item in the silent auction that's like the star of the show, or
you're gonna have to come to find out that we're
Okay.
There'll be some amazing prizes. The folks handling the raffle and silent auction came through with some awesome prizes and items last year. So
that's super. That is really super. It sounds like a great event. I think there were quite a lot of people who came last year, notwithstanding the rain. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that it won't rain, but it will be all indoors. Is that right?
Definitely be all indoors. With the challenges of the pandemic and weather, it was decided upon to be hosted outside last year, and there was just a really big rainstorm that kind of threw a monkey wrench into the whole process. So it was moved indoors last second. We tried to ventilate the library, having every door open to create a comfortable event for everybody. This year we're hoping that we're not going to say that the pandemic is behind us, but we think we're in a position where we can host it inside safely, and not have to worry about that weather that is always afoot in the springtime. So, well,
it is. One thing that I liked was having it indoors gave me a chance to explore the renovations of the library. So for folks who might not have been in Penn Wynne for a while, or may not have seen the completion of those wonderful renovations, really giving a whole different look to the library. It's open, it's light, it's bright, it's terrific. It's not, frankly, the stacks always used to be so narrow, and now everything is really opened up. So it's a nice opportunity, among other things, to tour the library, because everything was spread out, which I liked.
It's much bigger. The renovations were excellent.
Yeah, I think in general, in terms of the 6 libraries, they did a good job, a very good job. Ray, tell us for a moment, I'm not looking for board members, new board members on behalf of Penn Wynne. I don't know if new board members are needed, but maybe you could tell the people watching what your background is before you came to be a board member at Penn Wynne. It might inspire other people with varying backgrounds to get involved.
So I have a very extensive background in fundraising. I worked at the Philadelphia Museum of Art for 12 years and the Philadelphia Zoo for 4. I lived across the street from the library, and my daughter currently works at the library. So that's how I became involved with the board. That being said, we are looking for folks to, get involved from any background that doesn't really have any, bearing on the involvement of the library. If you have a general interest in books in the library and reading, then come and join the library and see what we have to offer. A lot of things are going on and they need help from anybody and everywhere. So come on out.
I think one of the things about libraries, and there are many things you can say about them, is they provide an opportunity for people who are new to the township to get involved, to make friends, to feel that they're doing something worthwhile, both for their own families and for their neighbors. And I think you can't underestimate the value of that. And it's volunteers who make things run. The employees obviously do a great job, but volunteers are important. Volunteers like you and others. Thanks, Ray, for being on, and best of luck with Appetite for Books.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing everybody.
Great. Thank you for joining us for the library show today, and we hope you'll tune in next month. Bye-bye.